Romance Dawn. That is the first chapter of One Piece. And that's where we're going to be starting here as we go through the recaps of all the arcs through One Piece to give you a better understanding for people that might not have the time to sit there and read and might not have the time to sit there and watch everything. So, because I know there's a lot of episodes, and maybe you want to just get like quick little recaps of some of the arcs, and then maybe if that gets your interest, that you hop in and see what's going on and what you like about the series. So the series starts off with Romance Dawn. It's obviously the dawn of a romantic journey, obviously for that being Luffy. Now, if you're viewing the anime doesn't start off with Romance Dawn per se until actually episode 4. Episode 4 covers the events of chapter 1, but for this video purposes, I'm gonna stay more in line with what the manga shows you in order, as opposed to in order of the anime. This is the only one that actually like differs, so be wary of that. So the series starts off with the introduction of Gold Roger, who was the king of the pirates, and he is at an execution platform with two people with the swords at his neck, and this is where he gives this speech. You know, he's saying, my treasure, everything, I left all that in one place, and if you want it, you can just go out there and find it. And this started the great age of piracy, and some people might not understand is like they think that, oh, well, was piracy just not a thing really back then? It was a thing, but it wasn't as prevalent as it was after he said that, because now people had real motive like to go out and try and do something like either to become like a king of the pirates or just to get the treasure. So that sparked a lot. So after that, we go ahead and we get introduced to the main character, that being Luffy. Now, this is as a kid, so this is 10 years prior to when the story actually takes place. So, our first meeting with Luffy as a kid is ironically him doing something crazy that he is kind of, you know, as you watch the series and read the series, he constantly is doing crazy stuff. What he is doing in this scene is he is showcasing his courage or fearlessness by attempting to cut himself with a knife. Yes, you heard that right. My man Luffy was a maniac, was a suicidal or a morbid, you know. He liked that type of stuff. So he did that. He cut himself. That's why he has that cut under his eye when you see him. So he was doing that to try and prove a point that he was like courageous and he was fearless, because he was trying to join the Shanks Pirates. Cut over to there. We go over into the bar, and this is where we meet red-haired Shanks and his crew. And they're in the bar just, you know, having a good time, living it up. And Luffy's in there just begging to join the crew. Like, hey, please, I want to go out to sea, blah, 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 blah. And Shanks is just not having it. He's just like, why would I take you? You can't even swim, and you're not strong or anything. And this is where Luffy remarks that, and my punches are as strong as a pistol. And it doesn't matter if I have to swim, if I can't swim, if I just won't ever fall overboard. And which is kind of funny, because that's just the way Luffy thinks. Is just like, you know, he's still a kid speaking, obviously, so he's gonna have kid remarks. But it's just funny that when you see him later on, he still is the same type of person. Now we do get a little bit of actual advice, like real world advice, from Ben Beckman, Shanks' second in command, his first mate. And he breaks it down to Luffy. He was like, hey, Shanks is just looking out for the betterment of you and the crew, because the crew is the responsibility of the captain. Like, their safety is the responsibility of him. So if things are dangerous, it's going to be Shanks' job to make sure that they make it out okay. And he just knows that the sea is a very dangerous place, and that you can die 1,000 different ways at sea. And he's got to be cognizant of that, obviously, with Luffy. First of all, just being a child. Second of all, being a kid. And third, just because he would just be a member of the crew. So he's obviously got to be wary of the things. But Luffy, of course, isn't hearing that and thinks that Shanks is just being an ass. And he even points to him and lets him know, like, hey, anchor boy, where are you going? Come over here. And he's just pointing to him and just thinking he's just trolling him, basically, at the end of the day. So after more chatter in the bar and more, you know, just living it up, we get introduced to our first like scene that puts our characters, and you kind of learn a little bit more about the morals of like each character and stuff like that that's been introduced so far. So we get a scene where mountain bandits crash the bar, and the scene gets thrown off with the vibe gets thrown off very much because the bandit leader walked straight up to the bar and was like, "Hey, let me get 10 bottles of liquor." And then they were like, and the bartender Makino was like, "Oh, we're fresh out." And he's like, "Well, what are these pirates drinking?" And then Shanks was quickly to say, "Ah, man, sorry, man, we must have just tapped it out. So sorry, but if you want to have this last bottle, you can have this last bottle. It's unopened." And the bandit leader immediately smacks the bottle and breaks it in his hand and looks at him, and he's just like, "Why would you disrespect me like that? I don't want one bottle. What is that gonna do for me?" And then he shows Shanks that his wanted poster that he has an 8K bounty, which doesn't mean a lot, but it means he's still a wanted man. But as you go through the story, you'll learn that the level of the bounties will go up. So he then tells Shanks he should clean it up, and he just walks out of there, and it's just silence. And eventually, as soon as the bandits leave, the crew just starts cracking up and laughing super hard, and it's just making fun of Shanks. And Shanks even laughs off himself and just thinking, "Oh man, they really got me good." And Luffy is just upset. Everybody else is just laughing, but Luffy is super upset because he's like, "Yo, you guys got disrespected. Like, how could you do that? You were wimps. You were cowards. You didn't do anything." And Shanks quickly remarks, he was like, "Well, it was just a little bit of booze, you know. That's all it was. There was no need to go kill anybody just because you got some booze on me." And then Luffy remarks, he said, "I'm out of here." And then Shanks is like, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to find a real role model." And at this point, this is where we find out that Luffy's arm is stretching a lot, like stretch. And this is where we find, and we see all the faces of like, "No, he didn't, did he?" And we find out that Luffy ate a fruit that was inside of a treasure chest. And mind you, why the hell was a treasure chest just sitting there open right there just for anybody to go up and grab? Like, anybody could have grabbed it. Even if it wasn't Luffy, it could have been somebody else that could have just walked up and grabbed a damn fruit. But they were like, "Luffy, did you eat this fruit right here?" And he shows them a picture of it and stuff. And he was like, "Yeah, I ate that for dessert. It wasn't that good, though." And it was funny because I was like, "Hey." Luffy was like, "Yeah, it wasn't even good, but I ate it." But that's where we find out that he had ate the gum fruit, which is a devil fruit of the sea, which will turn his body into rubber and cause it so he will never be able to swim again in the sea. Even though he couldn't swim at the time, it was just funny because now he can't he can't swim. Period. Because when they eat the devil fruits, it basically, the sea doesn't like them. They become an enemy of the sea at that point, and the sea just makes them sink and lose all their power and struggle, and they can't even get out of it. So that was funny. We then skip ahead some time later. Shanks and his crew are out on a voyage, and they're not currently at the island right now. And Luffy is just hanging out in the bar with Makino, and this is when the mountain bandits walk in. And obviously, this is not going to be good for Luffy because you just know Luffy at this point. What we know from Luffy is he's just quick at the mouth. He'll just say whatever, and it's just not gonna be good. We don't get to see what happens right then, and we just see that they come in the bar, shows Luffy's face, and then next thing you know, we see Makino running to the mayor saying, "Oh, Luffy's being picked on by the bandits. The bandits have Luffy, blah blah blah." And then we cut to the middle of town. And the bandits are all beating up on Luffy, and they're remarking that, "Oh, our punches and kicks aren't working, Well, dang, what are you made of?" And then obviously making a play on the whole rubber thing. And the bandit leader's like, "Well, I might just sell you to some freak show and make some money out of you." And at this point, the mayor shows up, and he's like begging for him, "Please, if you want money, I'll just give it to you. I'll give it to you." And the bandit's just like, "Nah. That's not gonna fly. This boy's got to pay," and he's basically gonna kill Luffy. But Shanks shows up right at time, and he just this is where you learn Shanks' moral compass. You find out Shanks' moral compass is he doesn't care if booze gets spilled on him at a bar. He doesn't care pretty much about anything. But when you hurt his friends for a good reason or not, that's not acceptable for him, and he is not going to stand for it. And at this point, one of the other bandits walks up and puts a gun to Shank's head, and Shanks is just like, "Oh, with you pointing that gun at me, that means you're willing to risk your life, right?" And the bandit remarks, "Huh?" And next thing you know, the bandit shot in the head by Lucky Roo, another one of Shank's members. And this is like one of the, like, obviously you're being introduced to the world of pirates, so you're expecting, this type of stuff. It was just like, it was so spur of the moment. You're like, dang, he just got shot in the head right there. Funny tidbit is, as you go through the series, you're going to notice you won't see deaths like that instantaneously right there. So just a little spoiler, to throw it out there. So, but they take out, the Shank's crew takes out the rest of the bandits with these, and this is where the leader realizes that he's no match. So he quickly throws a smoke bomb and grabs Luffy and gets out of there. And then Shanks is just like, he's like, "Oh my God, we lost Luffy." And they're just like, "Oh, just calm down, Captain, we'll find him." We cut over to Luffy with the bandit, and they're out on the sea on a little ship. They move fast to get on a little ship and then get out to sea like that. And the bandit remarks that, "Oh, well, I don't even need you anymore. You're not a hostage anymore, and I'm not going to sell you. So I might as well just throw you into the water and let you die." He was like, "I've killed 56 people, so what's another person to die?" So as he pushes Luffy into the water, a big sea beast pops up right behind him and eats him. And ironic how that works. But then the sea beast looks at Luffy, and he's gonna start heading towards Luffy, and then Luffy just like, super scared. And next thing you know, Shanks pops up in the next scene, but you kind of see that maybe something got bit. And then we see Shanks give a look to the beast and like go away, and the beast gets scared and runs and like swims away. And Luffy's crying. Shanks is like, "Well, why are you crying?" He was like, "Because your arm." And this is where we find out that Shanks lost his arm because he didn't get there in time, and the beast caught a part of his arm. So, and Luffy's just crying over that. After that, we cut over to the next scene, or good little bit times away, and Shanks is getting ready to set out, and this is gonna be his last time leaving. Like, he's not coming back to the island because he's been there at his home operations for a long time. And this is where Luffy makes the vow. He's like, "I'm gonna be a great pirate. I'm gonna have a better crew, and we're gonna have loads of treasure, and the whole 9 yards." And Shanks loves to hear that, and he was like, "You know what?" And he gives him the straw hat, and we have that iconic scene that you might see all types of places, where Shanks is giving the straw hat to Luffy as he's a kid, and he's telling him, like, "Please hold on to that and give it back to me whenever you become a great pirate." And that just set the tone for it, because Luffy obviously admires Shanks, but he has a memento to always remind him of Shanks and remind him of his goal. Even though Luffy's super goal driven as it is, but just always having that straw hat will cause him to be even more motivated and to care for that straw hat as well. And in the end of Romance Dawn, we eventually have the 10-year time skip where Luffy is of age to where he's heading out to sea. And this is where we see Luffy's just like, he's got a little stronger. He's obviously got taller and bigger. And he has a scene where he ends up punching that same very sea beast right in the face. It's kind of poetic, that he was eventually able to, get back a little revenge on that sea beast. Even though we don't really get highlighted on like the actual, like him saying that he wanted revenge on it. But I do like that he got a little bit of get back for that. But overall, this is just, I'm going to be going through all of the arcs. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. I'm gonna be shortening some things because I don't want to sit here and go like East Blue, Alabasta, blah blah blah. Because those, I feel like they're just so wide that you can't really capture like what's going on and like fully understand in a full sit through of a video. And I'm gonna try my best to be as detailed as possible, but not blabber on about too much unnecessary details of the arc that people would get lost in. So if you guys would, please smash that like button, please hit that subscribe button, and comment and tell me what you think. And if you think I should go more in depth on things, or give my opinions on like the actual story itself as I'm recapping it or whatnot. So, all right, y'all. Peace.